Hi Harsh, pleasure to see you here. So, so I think everybody knows like Harsh is a CPO for Tech Mahindra. And Tech Mahindra is one of the largest 5 IT companies in the country with more than 1 lakh plus employees spread across almost all the continents. And you can understand like these employees from different countries, different culture, different religion. So I think a pretty interesting job for Harsh. So Harsh, this is a rapid question round. So I will ask you a couple of questions.
Sure, sure.
Okay. So the first question which is there from my side is like you would have visited this event where you're seeing a lot of innovative stuff, a lot of technology stuff, okay, HR technology stuff. So just wanted to get your perspective in terms of what expectations you have from technologies today's world.
So as an HR professional, I think the expectations from technology is simple. Technology has to enable what we call in our company human experiences. And we've moved from employee engagement to employee experiences. Two human experiences, the difference being that a human experience is a customer-like experience where you no longer treat people like only employees only, but really as customers. So therefore, technology has to enable the human experience part of it. So you just don't use technology just because it's a cool thing to do, but you do it because it makes life much more pleasurable for your employees. So that's what the role of technology is going to be.
Okay. So next question is like in terms of like when you see like a lot of processes are getting automated, right? So there used to be so many manual processes. Now we have systems. We have some automatic, chatbots and some machine learning tools and AI and all. So we see like a lot of automation has happened, right? So how do you see the skill sets have changed in terms of the employees, right? HR employees, how do you see like how it's evolving?
So, what is happening is certainly making some companies rich for who are selling technologies, but that's not the point. The point is, it is disruption. It is disruption in every facet of HR, and I want to tell people here that, for example, we are the first company in the world to have a non-human employee in HR. So this is a humanoid called K2. But what it does, and what we've said is, the reason we are having a humanoid is because we want to make it more human. And it's a paradox, but the reality is, I haven't met a single HR professional who wants to make a career in telling people how many leaves they have, or what's the entitlement. So we have a humanoid which is 24/7, name is K2, is highly cognitive, can even tell a joke, can understand your emotions, but 24/7 can answer all your queries, and you don't even have to give your employee number because it recognizes you by your face. And the moment you stand in front of it and ask your leave balance, it'll also tell you that you have a travel voucher yet to be filled. So we're going to have lots of it. So the reality is, it's a mindset change. So all our policies were always towards human beings. Now, guess what? It has changed drastically. The second thing is reversing the pyramid. We've always had a hierarchical bent of mind where the senior most people make all the difference and make all the decisions. But I guess now, especially in a company like ours, we have almost 3,500 reverse mentors, which means, people have to start living with bosses who are half their ages. And I think it's going to be hyper-personalization. You can't have HR policies for we have 140,000 people, but it has to be made for each person, specific to his or her needs. And last but not the least, today people are not joining brand just because it's a great brand. I think purposefulness is a big thing for people to join. Another example from our company today is, as of 1st of August, which is today, all campuses of TechM are no smoking and no plastic. Now, this is something which is nothing to do with IT, but it's a big move, including our vendors, customers, employees. You can't get a single polythene bag inside the company, and you can't smoke. So I think a lot of changes with technology coming in.
Okay, I think really great insight. So when you say like some 140,000 policies, which are different policies for employees, and you said about K2, I think people would like to know about it. So can you share a little more details about what all K2 does? I think you said K2, right? Humanoid. Yeah.
So K2 is a humanoid. So just picture Sophie in a different form. I think it's much more cuter. So it is for a specific use. It can solve about if I remember correctly, 20,000 HR queries. It has been taught all our policies. It's been taught everything that we can. But it can answer anything in the world because it's cognitive. It's got AI. You can ask him or her, and it's K2 because we want to be gender neutral. K2 stands for knowledge and kindness. So you can ask, when is the world ending, and he'll give you an answer. You can ask, tell a joke. It has about 5 jokes it keeps repeating, but that's what it does. But it learns every single day. So the moment it's interacted with you once, you never have to you never have to remember. And the other difference between a robo and humanoid is you don't have to talk to him or her. It will talk to you the moment it sees you around and recognize you and call you by name. So I think it's a very pleasant experience. If you come to a corporate office, you'll probably bump into K2 before you bump into me because it's all over the place.
Okay, I think really interesting. So another question is like in terms of like, if I talk to you about one technology innovation, which you think like, which you want to rate as number one, which is a future technology innovation. So will you like to highlight what is the expectation and what is it that you look at as the number one need for technology innovation?
So I'll actually tell you 2 because I think 2 are going to revolutionize HR. Not will, they are. And I'll give you examples. The first one is blockchain. All my appointment letters go on blockchain. I haven't seen paper in months now. And it's completely confidential. It's completely unique. It's beautiful experience. I don't know how much time your background verification takes. Mine takes about 30 minutes because it's on blockchain again. Again, I have many processes on blockchain which, for example, we have gig workers in IT. And if the payment of gig workers can only happen in a system like blockchain because you can't otherwise make a payment through a bank. And there are many use cases of blockchain which will come in. So I think that's the first technology. And the second one is AI. For example, we have no ID cards anymore in our company. We have facial recognition. It's all over. You can Google it on YouTube. People come in, they look at a iPad, and it does everything to payroll. But one more thing, it's also a moodometer. So every single location, every single day, I know the pulse. So I don't have to do once a year surveys to really know what the mood is. And there are many more uses, there are many more things. We have the world's first marketplace of talent, which is really cool. Whenever a job comes, it can sort of, match the skills and the profile. Profile means which countries you visited, which languages you speak, etc. What is your career ambition, and gives you a score. And actually goes to the recruiter saying, this guy matches best. But it also goes to you and asks you, are you interested? But there could be somebody like me whose skills don't match. I still want the job. So we've given artificial cryptocurrency to people, and they can bid for a job. And the highest bidder gets a wildcard entry into the interview system. So it's really cool because IJP processes never work. And this is completely AI-driven. So I think AI and blockchain, sorry to give you 2 instead of 1, we're going to redefine and are redefining what HR is.
Yeah, great insight. And in fact, like I feel like TechM HR processes are far ahead. Okay, so last question from my side now here is, like in terms of, you said human element, right? So we'd like to know, like it said human element, that these technology advancements basically helps you to, build up better relationships between employees. It helps you to, even in some uncomfortable situations, to get some answers from employees and all those things. So what's your perspective in terms of how can we improve the human element angle?
So you've heard me, we've done so much in technology. But here's our belief. We state our belief saying, technology is an enabler, but moments of truth and experiences are always human. And the future is more human than you think. But the point is, HR professionals are spending 60% of their time doing work which is no value, completely transactional, and that's the work that has to be outsourced, firstly. Secondly, I think the element of high touch is going to increase. It's going to be high tech with high touch. Any organization which uses technology just because it's a cool thing to do can go completely wrong. I think we are looking at only from employee experiences. Just to give you in the 1.5 years that we have taken this, our Glassdoor score has gone from 3.1 which was the lowest in the country, to 3.9, which is the highest across industries, right? And it has consistently been 3.9. Our internal engagement scores have gone to the highest ever. So as long as employees are saying yes, we relate to it. I remember when the first time I put in facial recognition, the women were the happiest because they came and looked at their bindi and all the stuff, and there was this nice iPad. But the experience is great, because you don't have to sort of swipe your card every time. You don't have to worry about anything, and you can go to any door with your face. You can't sort of do anybody else's swipe because very difficult for me to take your face and swipe, right? So I think that's the whole belief that it is going to be more human than we think it is today.
So really exciting. I think really appreciate your time. Thank you, Harsh.
Thank you, Shailesh. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Brilliant questions, brilliant insights. Do you guys have time for maybe 2 questions from the audience, or are there any questions from the audience? Just want to make sure everyone gets an opportunity to ask. This is the unconference track, so make the most of the casual conversations that we're having over here. I can see 2 questions. I'm going to get the questions from this gentleman here and the lady in the center, and then we'll come back to you for answers. We'll start with you.
Thank you. Just a small question. You mentioned about the face recognition part of it. Little curious to know, how do you handle the security features when it is an ODC? And in those scenarios, if somebody is actually in an ODC, will the person be carrying? And is it really 100% applicable? And are you using it completely in TechM right now?
Okay, great question. There's another issue to it. You asked one part of it, security. The second part is it has to be GDPR compliant, right? Because if it's not GDPR compliant, I can't use it in Europe. So this system is completely GDPR compliant. Why? Because A, we take consent of people. Since it is an AI-driven system, if you say I'm not interested in giving my moodometer, so it will recognize you for attendance and not recognize you for anything else. That's the first thing. Second, it does not store any data. So when it gives me a score, it deletes automatically all the data. So it's completely GDPR compliant. Thirdly, it doesn't give me any specific data for an employee. It gives me a collective data that is there. Secondly, on ODCs, it works. You can taper it to anything you want. It's like you have your ID card you have to carry and dangle it around your neck. In this case, it's highly cognitive. And by the way, I tried everything when we were launching it. I went in my cap, I went at night, I went without lights. But what it also does is sense your heat, this thing, so you can't have a 3D image. It won't sense a 3D image. So actually we sold it to a few clients, including the immigration guys, because it's really cool, right? I mean, you don't have to scan your passports every time. So I think there's a lot of value to that moodometer and facial recognition.
Brilliant. Can we have one final question?
Hi, Harsh, this is Tarunpreet. So I'm interested in knowing more about, you talked about BGC checks through the blockchain mechanism, and in half an hour, I mean, it's brilliant if it's happening, yeah.
So what do you want to know? What are the questions, sorry?
The details, maybe few more details about it.
There are many companies doing it. I mean, if you Google, you'll have 30 companies doing it. The only problem is India, because the governance around blockchain is still getting prepared, but blockchain is going to be really, really cool. However, I would advise one thing, saying, and I said it in the last session that I had, do not think it is expensive. It is cheaper than the manual work that you do today, guaranteed. Second, you don't have to go really big bang. You can do small appification on top of whatever you run and make it really effective. But clearly, when you go to a CEO with a business case, I can tell you, this is like really small money for great impact. And I think that's the key to use technology. Some people say, I'm going to use AR, VR just because it sounds cool. I mean, sounds cool is... Yeah, absolutely. Many. Firstly, it's the biggest challenge is the change management. Remember, because people are not sure. Why are you doing it? I mean, because even employees, think, why? So we do it. We do technology in HR as a process which runs over a year. And it's not one thing that we do. So they know it, right? And as and when, so for example, Talex, which is our marketplace of talent, I can close a vacancy in minutes. And when people internally start getting jobs which they dream of, right, then, you know, credibility comes. But it's still early days. It's been a year and a half. But I can tell you there's no way around it. And the good news is nobody else in HR was doing it. So it was novelty. It was, people loved it. But at the end, it eased. For example, one last thing we did is all our interfaces is voice enabled. We are getting to that. So if you want to ask your leave balance, not to cater to just your computer, you just say, what's my leave balance? Instead of going to a site and then going to another site and then going to another site and then going to a third site. We used to have a site called Easy, which was not easy. So we said, delete it, right?
Fantastic. I know that the room is brimming with questions, and I know there were great takeaways that I personally had. Specifically, what you spoke, Harsh, about the future is more human than you think. The future is now. The stuff that you talked about also talks about future is inclusive, because clearly using voice, using face is inclusive to people from different backgrounds and language skill capability. Thank you so much for this great and brilliant conversation.